All right, so what I've done so far is I've basically just gone up and made ourselves a new merge models project. I've gone into that merge models project, made a new directory for apps, gone into that apps file, touched the init.py file, then ran manage.py and start up and made a test app or a new app called test models, and then started up Atom. In addition, I also went through and did a few things over here. In my settings.py, I included apps.testmodel.urls. We're not going to worry about that too much. I also used and pulled my app for login and registration on over. And so now I have this mhuser file, which is an app for login and registration. And I have this test models application that is also for whatever we want to do with it. So the point of this video is to talk about integration of models of these two different models. So again, we have this model for user for our kind of our custom login and registration. And I have my user manager with my login method and my register method. But the key part is the fact that I also have this user model right here as part of this class. So now I want to make something in my test models that can interact with this user. So one of the things about Django is you really want to be able to integrate and talk from app to app. So of course we have to do one thing in our settings. We have to make sure that both of those two apps are available. So we have test models already. So we want to go ahead and say, oh, well, we also copied in mhuser. Right, so mhuser is sitting there, right there. Now we have access to it. And we then want to go into our test model and make ourselves a new model there. So new file. Well, let's just do urls.py first, which I've already done. And there it is. It's just going to go to the root route, load views.index. We don't have views.index. Let's just go ahead and make one real quick. Again, not something that we care about at this point, but we'll just have it there just in case. And we're going to return HTTP response. Hello, and obviously because we need this HTTP response, we need to have to access it up here. Cool. And we need a colon. All right, so there we go. So now I have HTTP response here. Everything should be working, so we just need to make a model. And so here's a basic model. Auto now add should be true for the created app. And auto now should be true for the updated app. And we want to have a reference to some other model. So let's call this thing blog, since we already did a blog model once. And a blog's going to have a title. That title is going to be a models.char field. And it's going to have a max length of 45. It's also going to have a blog, which is going to be the blog itself. It's going to be a models.text field. And it's going to have a max length, say, of 1,000. Right? But we also want to, in this case, we want to keep track of who created this particular blog. And so we don't want to go and make a whole new users file. We want to just say, hey, we've already got this awesome, well, not really that awesome, but functional login registration. When somebody's logged in, maybe we want that person that's logged in to be the person who writes the blog. All right, so let's go ahead and add that on in. So we have to say, hey, go get information from this file or from this folder. So we're sitting right here. We're in test models. So we'd say from ... to go back up a folder and then go into mhuser, because now we're at test model and now we're moving over to mhuser. And then we say .models import user. All right, so again, we're just getting the relative path relative to where we're currently at. So going up a path, so we're outside of test models now, over to mhuser, and then down into models down here. All right, so now all we need to do is say, hey, the blog creator is equal to models.foreign key and user. And that's all there should be all there is to it. So at this point, we should be able to go back in and say, hey, let's go and just start our project. So Python manage Pi, make migrations. And so notice there's these two changes. We've created a model and we've changed the managers. All right. Cool. And now we should be able to go ahead and Python manage Pi migrate. Great. And then Python manage Pi run server. All that should work fine. We don't really care about the running the server at this point. What we might want to care about is the Django extensions, though, and see what kind of ERD diagram got built off of this thing. So Django extensions. I'm just going to look up the code for building out a quick ERD. And that quick ERD is right here. And I didn't actually do that in the settings yet, so let me do that really quickly here. So we need to go into our views and our settings in here. And we have to include Django extensions. Sorry about that. So now we have 3 apps that we're including. All right. Oops, typo. Django. All right, one more check here. Django underscore. Let me just make sure I've done all that right. Yep, underscore. Cool, and now we can look at that ERD diagram. And notice that now I have blog connected to user through that foreign key. So we were successfully able to interact with 2 different apps. All right, thanks. Talk to y'all soon.